Hello, everyone, to the finals of Emerald and Ruby. First, we're gonna do Emerald Championship finals between Scout versus Hunu, and after that one, we're gonna do Wrestler versus Crash in the Ruby Championship finals. But before that, I need to introduce the casters. Hello, Tsuboshi.
Hello, hello.
And we also have Opie Rights joining us today.
Hello, how are you?
Pretty good. I heard that these matches were pretty exciting. I haven't
Well, I should
seen
hope so.
I haven't seen them myself, so this is all new to me as well. So yeah, we're gonna find out together, I guess. But before that, we need to talk about the players themselves.
To be fair, finals matches are always kind of exciting, even if it winds up being fairly one-sided.
True. Anyhow, shall we talk about the players?
Let's do it.
I forgot to put them in the OBS, so now we so we have to do it like this.
That's all right.
Everything's fine.
Yeah, first up here, we do have Scout, who has a lossless record in this division after the drop of June, and is coming in as the top seed into the finals, and has a historically winning record over Hunu, has beaten Hunu twice in the past, I believe, once during this very division. So coming in here as I would say probably a slight favorite, but nothing too crazy. Hunu is a very solid player. And as you can see down there, Scout is a fan of balcony, ballroom, and gallery, getting rid of aquarium and redwoods and courtyard, which doesn't quite fit with the occlusion theme of the other disliked venues, but it makes some sense as well.
Yeah, it does. 45% win rate on the spy side, 73% on the sniper side. So pretty good numbers, all things considered. And they should be, considering, as previously mentioned, a lossless record.
Yeah, and on to Hunu, who we will see, I believe, has a slightly higher Glico rating than Scout, but as I mentioned, has had a couple of losses to Scout in the past. One, of course, you can see it right there in the match record, and another in one of the recent cups, I believe. I don't remember exactly when, but, you know, I'd like to draw attention to this spy win rate out of Hunu. That is above 50%.
It's really hard to get over a 50% spy win rate. That is an incredibly impressive statistic.
Yeah, I mean, it is always difficult. So that is the mark of a pretty solid spy, I would say. Hunu is both of these players are pretty big fans of just doing a clean bug and finishing missions after that, and that can work very, very well against snipers who are not prepared. So we'll see, maybe how that plays out in this particular set.
So as you were saying, as far as the head-to-head is concerned, Scout does look like they have the edge, but honestly, this really could go either way. These guys are very evenly matched.
Yeah, and we can see Hunu also likes gallery, but instead of the ballroom and balcony, Hunu really likes those bigger venues. The library and the veranda are only 5 of 8 in the pool at the moment, and Hunu likes both of them.
And they both agree that Redwoods is hard.
I think everyone can agree with that, Tobo. But yeah, so it will be very interesting to see how this match plays out. Of course, these are games that pretty much no one has seen unless you were in client and watched it live when it was happening, because these replays have not been posted. No one can go in. No one saw the results before this, so you had to have been there if you wanted to know what's happening before now. So we're going to this very, very blind.
Heavily classified SpyParty games we are unsealing for you fine folks.
And with that, let's go into the draft. Now, note that Scout does have an advantage coming in as the higher seed in a couple of different ways. Scout gets to choose both who spies first and who snipes first, as well as which order the draft goes in, and on top of all that, gets to single an extra venue. So makes an extra choice in the draft that Hunu is not going to get. So this is going to end up being a full first to 10, I believe, set. And you can see right off the bat, our doubles are very, very standard for the players. They're doubling the venues they said they liked. What a shocker.
So if any of you are unfamiliar with the draft format of the big SpyParty tournaments, generally speaking, this is how it goes. Each player bans a venue. In this case, Hunu bans balcony, Scout bans aquarium. Those venues cannot be played. Then each player will restrict a venue. This means that venue is not allowed to be doubled by their opponent or themselves. In this case, Hunu restricts High Rise, Scout restricts Redwoods. Doubled venues get played twice. In this case, that is being Library from Hunu and Ballroom from Scout. And then all the singles just get played once apiece.
Yep, and Hunu might actually be kind of happy about this draft. Look at that. Got all 3 of the venues that he said he liked on his player card. So library, gallery, veranda, all of those in there. But of course, Scout can't be unhappy either with Ballroom, Hunu picking gallery for them. And some interesting swerve into Tayen here, given that the other 2 big occlusion venues were the ban and the restrict respectively.
Yeah, that is certainly going to be an interesting situation. But I think other than Tayen and maybe High Rise, both players are going to be very happy with how this venue layout has fallen into place.
Yep. So let's, I suppose, get on into it then. We've seen our draft, and we're going to be starting off on Library, as Hunu did go first in the draft. So Library will come first.
We've got Hunu starting things out on the Spy side versus Scout Sniper to get this thing started in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
So we know that Hunu likes Library and Veranda, these big venues, and there are some reasons that this could be. One is perhaps that you just like the comfort in the Sniper side, because the Sniper win rate on these venues does get quite a bit higher than most others, just because of that 5 out of 8 missions that are necessary to complete. However, Hunu perhaps could also be considering the fact that just likes to spy on these venues, things that he has a higher spy win rate on these venues than most people will. So we'll see if anything interesting gets pulled out here. Speaking of pulling out a yellow book, we'll see if this goes anywhere interesting.
Indeed. Also of note, the bigger venues and the smaller venues demand very different skill sets out of our snipers. It's very hard to really laser in on a small number of people and start looking for very subtle tells when you have so many people to sift through over such a wide area. Into our first set of missions here from Hunu, we were able to step into this conversation to get 51% on the flirt and a contact out of it as well. That's a pretty good contact, all things considered. The conversations were fairly full. Still let off 3 lowlights, but on a venue this big, you will absolutely take 3 lowlights.
Yeah, I'm usually not a big fan of early contacts, especially on bigger venues, because those lowlights can be so impactful. But when you're getting as few lowlights as we see here for Scout, this, I feel like, becomes a very nice pacing decision, especially as we had spent over a minute before getting our first flirt progress. So we are going to need to pick things up a little bit, and getting the contact now helps with that significantly.
So does getting the flirt done in 2. So that's 2 missions done, 2 minutes and 45 seconds left to play. It was a very slow start from Hunu, so they're going to need to be a bit more on top of their pacing throughout the rest of this, but a very high-value conversation over on the yellow side is certainly going to help in that front.
Hunu eyeing up the Ambassador, but the Ambassador is going to a spot where it's pretty hard to reasonably get a bug by without being seen. It is probably one of the most unbuggable spots in all of SpyParty, if I'm being honest. It is just that corner. There's no reason for you to ever really path there. It's really obvious if you go for a bug over there. So Hunu instead is going to go into statues here. Pick up what I assume is going to be a highlight. Yes, there it is.
And it makes a lot of sense to get highlight for a center statue visit like this. Oh, you swapped it! That was just a straight white swap. I think that's probably just death, right?
Well, Scout was looking for it. Now he's looking back.
Statue.
Scout's considering. I think has seen the swap, but there's only one more mission left to go. So if Hunu can find that last mission and Scout can't take that decision, but look at this, looking back over at the statue.
Right at it.
And I think
his
is sussing this out.
On the statue. Oh boy. All right. So I'm honestly a little bit surprised that Hunu hasn't died for this, but
here comes the Purloin. It's going to be a green test, though.
Green. I think if that was a white, this was done and dusted. Green, there's
for sure,
a chance.
But now Scout's...
It's not a big chance. There's the take. There's the list gone. There's the shot. Scout had enough of a read on the mission count that they knew they didn't have to shoot for that swap, even if it was a scary situation. But that Purloin is going to put it over the top, and Scout is able to pick up game number 1 from the sniper side.
Yeah, nicely done from Scout. A bit of patience there. I don't think it would have been bad necessarily to shoot for the white swap. However, if you're not 100% sure, like, maybe there was someone there, it could have been a green swap. It can be good to hold that shot. The only risk is that, you've missed some sort of hard tell, some bug, some microfilm, even prints perhaps. But in this case, that is not what's happened. Hunu does not have the missions done yet, and the patience is rewarded from Scout's side now. Scout needs to, as we mentioned earlier, this is a very sniper-sided venue, so that is maybe the expected result for Scout. Now can Scout take a lead by getting the unexpected result, playing as Spy?
Let's find out in 3, 2, 1, playing it. A bit of an awkward spawn for Scout. Basically, everyone was either nowhere near or actively walking away from them, so they're just going to sort of dip in at the window and catch up with their seduction target once they settle down a bit. It is a very quick green flirt for 51%, so a good start pacing-wise, and immediately out into the yellow bookcase. So Scout is not waiting around.
Yeah, I like this. The Ambassador is on the other side of the venue right now, which means that we could just tear this book away, or
no, he's just going to animation transfer. Oh my goodness, Hunu swings over to have a look at a very scary time, but didn't get caught out for it.
Yep. So
I like the play. Hunu was really spending a lot of time over on the blue side. It looked very much like they would have been able to get away with that without Hunu even knowing that they were there, but in this case, it wound up working out either way, even though it was a bit spooky.
Yeah, this is some nice pacing from Scout. Getting that early progress, I think I would have mildly preferred to see a direct transfer with all that activity over on the left side of the venues at the start of the game, but this is viable just as well. And now we are in a conversation where we could see a contact and a flirt come off, but this contact is not quite as good as Hunu's was, but this flirt is another 2 flirt from our spies.
These guys are really doing a good job of hitting the green test. I think the only green test that's been missed so far is a couple of inspects and the swap from the previous game. But Scout has been on top of it as well.
Yeah, maybe looking for some sort of contact here. Instead, we're going to go into this blue bookshelf, which I think is good timing. The Ambassador is on the other side of the venue. The only issue is that the Ambassador's not actually in that much danger. Now, as the Ambassador moves, we're going to go for this. Unfortunately, it's another white test on the microfilm, but I think we got away with that.
The very tail end of it again, and the tail end of these are just hard to distinguish from a regular page turn. So in cases like that, I think Scout has got this microfilm done cleanly. He has been seen at both bookcases, but I don't think they've really been noticed doing anything particularly suspicious. Still 2 minutes and 15 on the clock, and we're back in conversation with this double agent looking for a good contact. And this might be it.
Yeah, here we go. We'd go for it, and we could go straight into a contact and inspect swap here, but instead we might be going for a bug on the way through here.
It
as
is
Hooters
indeed
going for
the bug takes. Was it
highlight.
seen? It was certainly suspected. The highlight comes through, but no shot as of yet. Now,
Can we get away with going to center
has to
statues?
find one more mission without dying.
Yeah, the big question here, Toba, when you're playing as Spy is, can I get away with center statues? How clean was this bug? How clean was the microphone? Will I just die if I go for this? And Scout has decided that it's gonna be enough, that even though maybe there's some bug suspicion, the microphone might have been clean enough. We'll see if Hunu can take the shot. Yes, immediately. Not even hesitating.
Yeah, I think Hunu was pretty well on top of that. They were suspicious enough of the bug. They'd seen them at both bookcases. They knew they were in for the contact. You just sort of give up the flirt. You sort of assume everybody has it on a venue like this. So that was a good, well-played sniper game by Hunu.
Yeah, and this is one of those spots where if you're a scout, the way in which you do these inspects might matter, right? Because we have just been high lit for this bug. And it's only about 20 seconds later that we go for the center inspect. So we're still very, very much in mind as a big suspect for Hunu. If we let that simmer down for, just another 30 seconds, that might be good enough to not get shot there. The problem, of course, is that you're starting to get into low time, and going to center statues late in the game is also a reason to get shot. So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place in terms of trying to complete center inspects there. So it might have been prudent to find another completion method, maybe a side statue into swap, or a purloin even. One of those might have been better, but it's really so hard to say, especially when you feel like you've got a relatively clean bug and transfer. You don't really want to do another hard tell.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard situation to be in as a spy because you just don't know how much heat you have. But either way, it's 1-1. We sort of expect the snipers to get warmed up a bit quicker than the spies do. So let's see what Scout is able to do on their second sniper game of the evening. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Oh my! That was one of the larger traffic jams I've seen in this game.
I mean, when everyone's bouncing around, it doesn't look that bad when you do it.
Barely able to get that flirt done in time, but it is a mid-ranged green test to bring us up to 40% on the first flirt. So that's a nice little start. You didn't have to commit to a conversation for that.
Yeah, and Hunu here, we saw in the first game it was a little bit of a slow start, but picked up pace somewhat after a quick flirt contact, and inspect swap was the game before. Interestingly enough, we do reject this. I think it might have had a print on it, and we don't go for this bug, which I think is fine because it would have been visible. We were not quite behind the pillar there, but there were a couple of opportunities for Hunu to pick up some mission progress, and both were denied. And instead, we're just keeping a very low profile.
Yeah, nice slow start seems to be Hunu's game plan, and sort of let the sniper find suspects that aren't you and pick up pace near the end.
Yeah, and that can work very, very well against all levels of sniper, I think. But in particular, in Emerald, that's going to be something that's going to work even better than you might expect. The main thing you have to be aware of is, of course, how well can you do missions near the end of the game? How well can you get things done fast?
Well, time ad is certainly going to help with that, especially on the green test. We've also pulled a blue book, and while we were at that window, we were able to get another green flirt up to 91%. So any flirt at this point will finish that up. And as long as this book doesn't go back into the blue bookcase, that will be a mission completion as well.
Yeah, and as someone who has played lots and lots of this game in Tobo, I can tell you these long, long games, especially on big venues like Library and Veranda, where you've missed some sort of time ad, you know it, you've missed it, but you can't narrow down the party at all. They are exhausting, and they are nerve-wracking as well, because a lot of the time the spy is being relatively slow, and because of that you start to think you're missing everything, but you're not. Nothing's just it's just nothing's happening, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But as a sniper, you're not used to games where nothing is happening. That doesn't happen very often. So you're absolutely going to get in your own head and feel like, because you haven't seen stuff for so long, that stuff must be getting by you. That said, Hunu really is just taking this very, very slowly. They've got the contact. They've still got this blue book in hand that's not gone back yet. This is a long book, actually.
Yeah, and the contact here wasn't quite as good as it was in the previous game. Quite a few lowlights for Scout here, but it's going to be another timeout for Hunu. Maybe those lowlights aren't going to matter as much when there's so much time on the clock, so much time for other characters to become the suspect. But again, there's only one highlight because of that contact. There were quite a few more beforehand.
Another time ad, though, really trying to test Scout's mental game here from the sniper side, test their patience as best as possible. Back in the conversation with the seduction target, there's the flirt getting done. So that's 2 mission completions and a blue book in hand. Still 2 minutes and 15 seconds to play.
Yeah, and another part of this is it's a bit of match play as well. This is a relatively long match, especially for Emerald, where the standard match has been 12 games. This is an extra 50% on top of that or so, I believe. And that's pretty significant. And so when you start playing these long, long sniper games, that can tire you out pretty quickly. And so that might, be part of Hunu's game plan here, just to tire Scout out, force them to snipe for a very, very long time, and maybe more things are going to start getting by later on the set.
Absolutely. Best of 18, first to 10. These are not short matches.
No. I believe we might be doing a frame onto Buns here. Mrs. B over there talking with an SDA after having gone to center statues, doesn't pick up a shot in this instance. Hunu going, I thought, for green bookshelves, but instead for this fingerprintable briefcase here.
We might be headed to the green bookcase after we're done with this, though. That would be probably a way to get the book away. Well, we wouldn't be able to get the print if we already have a book in hand, so that makes things a little bit awkward. And we've got this man coming in to get smudgy on it, so that's not going to happen. Instead, we head over to the yellow bookcase to get this book down, finally.
Yeah,
We've
this
had
book has
this
been
book
out
for
so
almost
long.
the whole game. That's 3 mission completions, but even with the 2 time ads, only 30 seconds left to play. We haven't managed to find that second print. We haven't managed to find another mission on top of what we've been doing. We've added time twice, but we're still very much behind the clock, and we're going to have to engage in a little bit of panic here. There's a bug. The bug does take. The shot comes off, but it's the wrong shot. Everything popping off right at the end. It looked like he might have been able to get away with grabbing that briefcase to at least force overtime, but man, it looks like the delay tactics worked out.
Yeah, I mean, it's always very scary when a big character like that goes into goes into statues right at the end of this game. And, what do you do if you're Scout? You can't see the statue. Actually, you can just briefly, but I believe Scout was on the other side of the venue when that was available for seeing. And this distraction just helps Hunu land the bug, and it wouldn't have even been enough to get into Mission Win Countdown. But yeah,
with the briefcase right there, though, that the ambassador had just walked away from, I think if we'd gotten into that, we could have at least got it into overtime.
Yeah, I think so too. Hunu would have gotten into overtime there, but definitely, as you mentioned, those delay tactics do work out, and the distraction at the end, thanks General, Hunu manages to find a spy victory on Library. It's his double, so Scout's gonna need to bring this back a little bit on the spy side, or find some ground later on a venue they're more comfortable with.
Let's see if Scout is able to return the favor from the spy side in 3, 2, 1, playing it. In we go to the seduction target, that early flirt at the windows once again. This is the same thing they did last time, 46% off of the first flirt, which was a little bit closer than the last one was, but it's probably wise not to get close enough to get the full 51 in situations like that at the start of the game, because it is a little bit suspicious.
Yeah, I don't have a big problem with it though on Library. Against most players, there are some caveats, there are some counterexamples. Against most players, though, you can just be as rude as you want about a flirt on most venues that are not, pub, that are not high rise, that are not terrace and balcony. Um, so, especially on Library, one of the biggest venues in the game, I just don't think it's going to matter all that much where you are with flirt. But at the same time, Scout already has 2 and is 75%, so one more flirt at any reasonable distance, doesn't even have to be a green, will do it. So we're not really worried about flirt progress at the moment. Scout, though, a little bit of a slower start than normal.
On the way through, on the way around the outside, the laser was right on top of it, but it was a very nice move from Scout, and there was no reaction from Hunu. Now there is a reaction from Hunu. Scout just has been deaded.
Yeah, I mean, I think this actually isn't that bad of an idea here. What I think Scout was going for is Hunu has been hovering here at this spot for quite a while, and Scout was trying to gauge the tempo of Hunu's sniper, because on Library you do have to pull away from watching the ambassador, take them off the screen for a little while a lot of the time, and Scout was probably trying to predict, okay, Hunu's going to look away, about now. They've been here this long. Now they're going to look away. And unfortunately, Hunu, I think, I have to imagine, sees Scout start to move and says, okay, I'm going to watch Bug a little bit longer because of this movement that's going, So nicely done from Hunu to catch the bug. As long as it's on screen, it wasn't too difficult, but it does have to be on screen. A nice attempt from Scout, but unfortunately, it does not work out, and you're gonna, notice the length difference between those past 2 games, Tobo.
Yeah, that one was very brief. A little over a minute played in that one, about a minute and 20-ish seconds. But that is not an easy bug to be certain on. That was a pretty nice one, all things considered. The path was a little bit wonky, and that might have been what did it, but
I also think Scout, I think the reason the path was a bit wonky was Scout was going for a wrong arm bug, and it was a little awkward of an angle to go for it. But unfortunately for them, does not work out. Hunu now up 3-1 after a very nice long spy win on Library. So we'll see if that starts to have an effect later on in this set, this longer set. This is going to be one that requires stamina, especially from Scout's side. But now we are on Scout's double. So if there were anywhere to pick up and make up that ground, it would be here for Scout. Hunu now on the spy side.
Yeah, let's see how that plays out in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Seen a few slow starts from Hunu, but we're going to go in and get this flirt immediately. 34%. Finally, we see a white flirt.
Absolutely. There have not been very many white flirts in this match so far. But starting out in an innocent conversation and coming right here is can be a little bit telling, especially with how short of a path it was. But 34%, and it looks like we're hanging around for the timer flirt as well. So This should be a pretty decent start timing-wise. Seduction Target does step away, though, so we're not quite able to get the timer flirt we were hoping for. Eyeing up the double agent a little bit. We might be heading there next. It would be a pretty early contact, but the conversations are very full. There's not many people out of them. Well, now there kind of are. So.
Well, one of them's the DA, of course. So,
yeah.
On the other hand, this party has been fairly active. It's settled down in the past 30 seconds or so, but there's been a lot of partial progress from various different, AIs, and so that's going to start spreading the attention a little bit thinner and thinner as the game goes on. It's never a fun time when it feels like everyone has a bit of progress at somewhere, because there's been, I think, 3 or 4 side statues. I think 3 AIs currently have at least 1 print or a single print. I don't believe any have 2, but that's just kind of the world that you have to play in right now. If you're Scout, you have to stay focused. You have to understand that all this partial progress doesn't actually mean all that much. You just have to keep track of it.
Green test on the second flirt brings up to 85%. Tried to get a difficult print at the green bookcase there and was not able to hit it. So likely we're not going to be seeing prints for the rest of this game.
Yeah, and it's, getting down to the time where you need to either time add or commit to some sort of frame game to win this, because the amount
we don't have any mission completions, and there's 1:05 on the clock. This is not good as far as the timer is concerned. We are able to get the flirt done, so that's pretty quick. We are able to get the contact done, so that's pretty quick. But we haven't been to statues yet. We haven't gotten a hardtail yet. This is not going to be an easy game to finish missions on.
We request the
Purloin is going to help.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty good spot for it. We are partially occluded by this pillar. The front right conversation from the sniper side.
Toby just took a trip back and forth across the venue, although we're not able to get any rejects out of it. There's the take. It's a late fade. I don't think he got a good look at the fade, though. I don't think he's got a good look at the list being gone at all. So Hunu might have actually been able to get away with putting that back. It's a bug on the way through, but Scout is on top of it, and they are able to win their sniper game, on the first round of Ballroom.
Yeah, and maybe partially bailed out by the fact that Hunu was waiting for so long. When you get down to, this 15 seconds left on the clock and you need that one more mission, this sort of crash bug is often your best option, and it's not a very good option, right?
It's really not.
So,
especially
this is obviously
with the angle the sniper was at. Scout was just in a good position to catch that kind of a bug.
Yeah, and kudos to Scout for that. But yeah, no, this is the problem with getting so low on time, is that your only options become your best options, and at that point they're not very good. None of them are. We might have seen a different result had Hunu hit that difficult fingerprint, though. Ambassador was at green bookcase. If the Ambassador had put that back and we had picked up that fingerprint, that might have been enough to get away with a spy win here, but not this time for Hunu. The green test rate doesn't hold up in this game. Scout still hanging on here. Although it's still early in the set. I say hanging on, but it's still close and it's still early.
And it's still a 1-point game so far. There's a lot of SpyParty left to play. And Scout, if they're able to get a win on the spy side of one of these ballroom games, they're going to be able to draw level pretty dang quick. Let's see what they're able to do with this attempt in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
That's a bit cheeky. That's
like
a bit
half
cheeky.
a helicopter bug there almost. It wasn't that bad. And it was Time of Chaos, and a lot of crazy stuff happens in Time of Chaos, but it looks like Scout got away with that pretty cleanly.
Yeah, no highlight from Hunu, and we did see Hunu highlighting 4 bug. Scout's gonna go over to this window pad to not path around the Ambassador out of statues. Doesn't want any extra suspicion for bugging here.
I really like that play. Just make dang sure you're not suspected of taking that bug after you've already gotten it. 34% on the first flirt, and we were able to get an inspect in the aftermath of that bug because that's where our path was taking us. So we should be able to finish that up with a side statue visit late in the game, which is definitely less suspicious than a center.
A behavioral sniper might note that going to that painting pad actually is a little bit suspicious for that exact reason. Spies don't like to obviously path by the ambassador, but of course AIs have no qualms doing that exact thing. So an AI very pathing close but not bugging, probably not the spy in a lot of times.
An innocent reject on the drink from Toby leads into a second flirt. This one also white, so 68% is where we stand there. And now we get highlit as we step into the statues to finish up these inspects.
Yep, nice and easy. And we do have our STN double agent in the same conversation. This game could be over within a matter of 20 seconds or so, I would say, Tobo. And if Hunu doesn't have the bug, that could be a big problem.
It looks like that's exactly where we're headed. Contact first is an unusual decision, but it works out as the double agent steps away.
There's a hover.
There's the flirt.
Hunu's thinking about
There's
it and takes
the
it.
shot. I have no idea how Hunu found that.
I think it's actually a pretty behavioral decision at this point. Scout did that contact very quickly after coming into conversation, makes a talk. It's a great shot from Hunu. If you don't have this bug suspicion, that's pretty, it's very hard to make. But I think it's just a bit of over eagerness, you might say, from Scout's side, going straight from these statues into the conversation, taking the contact really, really quickly. And getting in that mission when countdown, just enough for Hunu to say, that looks way too much like the spy for me to not take this shot.
Yeah, that's a really, really impressive shot.
Yeah, and we saw that Hunu had just under a 70% sniper win rate over the course of the division. That's pretty good, but so far has been controlling it even more than that. 100% in this set so far. Only 3 games, of course. Lots of sniper games left to play for Hunu, but that's going to mean Scouts got to work even harder than they might have expected.
Absolutely, and that was a big opportunity for Scout that Hunu was able to claw back. And now they're on the spy side versus Scout Sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Still that 2-point lead, 1 break lead, if you will, for Hunu.
Oh, this looks terrible.
It does, yeah.
This is definitely illegal. There was a bug fix quite a while back to make bookcase pads less sensitive, but not that insensitive. They're still pretty sensitive to spacing. And while you can fit 2 people on that pad, you can't do it with how Teal was standing there. However, it doesn't appear to have been punished, and Hunu gets a lot of early progress. Look at this. Fingerprint, a microfilm, one of the flirts. This is a complete antithesis of the games that Hunu has been showing so far.
A little bit of awkward in the middle of that briefcase return, but the end of it looked pretty dang good, so probably not much suspicion there. We are able to get the print out of it. We do have blue microfilm in our pocket as well, so giving ourselves lots of options moving forward in this game.
Yeah, so we move around next to Teal again here. We are going to take our next flirt, I have to imagine. No, never mind. Teal decides otherwise.
Yep. Was in the middle of the action test when our seduction target decided to bail on that, which is very unfortunate. Double Agent drops in to say hi, though, and Hunu is going to take them off on that offer. Unfortunately, our suspected Double Agent was out and about, so there are very few real contactors here.
Well, the SDA had actually just split. So it's not quite as bad, because if Scout isn't sure whether or not the SDA was out for the contact, you could see credit. Look at this is again kind of gross here. That
one at least is legal though.
Yeah, I think that was, if not legal, it was very close to legal, and I wouldn't be sure on it. But look at this, very nicely timed on this green. It's so well timed because look at where the ambassador is, Tobo. Over on this side, that's going
And
to.
Toby too.
Yeah, well, the main point is actually that the ambassador, where he's standing right now, compels the sniper to take a leftwards angle, which means that was entirely covered up by a pillar.
Indeed. Yeah. Good positioning, good timing. Knowing where the party is and being able to take advantage of it is a difficult thing to do as the spy, because you're so focused on making your own plans and trying to figure out how to get everything done. But we do have our hardtail complete. Unfortunately, we only have one flirt and there's 30 seconds to play. So we didn't quite manage to stay on top of things as far as our timing is concerned. We get highlight as we pick up our second print. 20 seconds. Normally, you'd want the flirt to be the last.
We go for the bug, but it doesn't take.
Not going to happen.
Oh, the bug that we were going for doesn't take, and Scout sees it as well. Hunu realizes that there's just no way this flirt's ever getting done, and tries for this standing bug, but the transition from standing to walking reduces the range that we'll take at by quite a lot, and Hunu just mistimes it a little bit. It would have been pretty close to a mission win based on this difficulty Scout had lining up the shot, had the bug actually taken, but of course it didn't take, and Scout turns that into a sniper win.
Indeed, they do. That was... Man, these games have been so tight.
Yeah, really close.
Last time Scout had a spy game to play on Ballroom, they came inches from being able to capitalize on it. Let's see what they're able to do this time around. If they're able to draw level in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, it's
This is an awkward party layout to start this game.
Yeah, it doesn't put much pressure on the sniper at this very moment. The ambassador's kind of at this front windows, isn't in much danger. Of course, Den does move through potential some drive-by bugs there, but lands again, not much danger.
It's just a purloin. The list is gone. He just took the list.
I actually think that, it's very unfortunate that was a white purloin, but had that, this is still a very strong purloin, in my opinion. And I really want to explain why. But we're gonna have to wait till after the game because it's going to require us going back and looking at that party state a little bit. But this was a very, very good purloin, and I'm, devastated that this was a white test and we are the highlight for it. However, that does not mean we are dead. We still have opportunities in this game.
Yeah, I don't think Hunu got a really good read on how that purloin happened. We're definitely a suspect, but we're not a massive one at this point, I don't think. We were able to get 51% on the first flirt. There's a distant green test on the second to bring us up to 90%. So that's the flirt very nearly finished. We just need one more on that to get it done.
Yeah, Double Agent leaves us, but I don't think we really wanted to contact at this very moment anyway. We're going to go for a bit of a slower approach, I have to imagine, from Scout. Probably doesn't feel very, very good about the position that they find themselves in, because you never expect to be in a good spot after a white purloin, really.
This is very true. Scout probably thinks they're even farther behind than they probably are at this point.
Yeah,
especially once they saw the highlight come off.
Hunu doesn't have a great read on this. And Scout does a nice briefcase cancel. Those are very tricky, actually. They're basically frame perfect to do them accurately. Oh, safety off.
And it's not on Scout. This is a very big development. We've got our flirt done at this point. 1 minute and 5 to play. But the story of the match right now is it's going to be almost impossible for Hunu not to shoot someone. The question is, who does Hunu shoot?
Yeah, if Rocker goes into some sort of, we're going to go into side statues here. Are we going to go for some sort of swap play? Swap contact? Yeah, we are. It's a green
Indeed,
swap.
it's a green swap.
So
If one of the suspects gets pulled for this, that's going to be so wild. I don't think any of them are in a position to get pulled, though.
Okay, we're waiting. We take the contact.
That's mission win
Ooh,
pending.
safety off onto, there are two other
There's the
suspects.
swap.
That means Hunu's not watching for the swap. There's no visibility on it. It's completely blocked off at this angle.
Oh
and Hunu.
my god, are you kidding me? What a wild finish!
That's incredible. And, obviously it's a bit, it's fortunate for Scout that Hunu wasn't as on top of this purloin as he could have been. However, I want to go back just briefly and take a look at why I think this purloin is as good as it is, even after a white test. You'll see here that this center conversation is pretty crowded, as well as there's this pillar here. And the rest of the venue is very spread out. So we have our ST over at statues. We have the ambassador actually in front of the venue. Not you would expect the ambassador being at the front to not be very good, but being in the background of the ambassador, especially as Wheels is passing by, is very, very nice. And of course, Toby is not very visible while the offer is happening. So all of these combine to make a really, really good purloin timing. And I'm very impressed that Scout was able to identify that and use that to come to a spy victory here, despite the white test.
Yeah, that was a 2 hardtail spy victory. That was purloin, flirt, contact, and swap.
Yep.
A very impressive spy game coming out of Scout, and that is going to tie us up at 4. We are dead level going into Gallery with Hunu on the spy versus Scout on the sniper in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, so very nicely done from Scout to draw this back to even, and that means that we're even. Anyone can win this match from here, Tobo. I don't know what else to say about that. Even means it's even.
Not quite able to pick up that first flirt at the painting as intended.
We get a bit lucky here as Hunu. We are not the Hylet twin.
Indeed.
Very
the Hylet twin is also our seduction target, so that's a thing.
Yeah, I believe Scout just highlights the first twin that goes anywhere, really. That's not a conversation.
I mean, fair. A slow start from Hunu, but into the statues we go.
I wonder if this picks us up the highlight over the other twin. Swap those off.
That was... I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. 2 people landing on your statue pad at the same time like that. That was pretty wild.
That is very interesting. So Hunu picks up some inspects, which are a bit weaker on Gallery than most places, as you do have to go twice to 2 different statue pads, or pedestal sets, really.
Getting the first set early definitely helps, though.
Yeah, we did pick up that 51% flirt, which is going to be critical, especially as that was our first flirt almost halfway into this game.
Absolutely. And this is a venue where it can be tricky to get the flirt done, depending on what your seduction target does. It's not a given like it is on many of the other venues, and there have been time troubles with flirt already. 2 minutes to play. We've got the flirt, we've got the 2 inspects, and that's all the progress we have as of yet. Back into the front of the venue to pick up this next flirt, and we do get it done in 2, so that's a mission completion on the board with 1 minute and 45 seconds left to play.
I feel like Hunu's pacing here is absolutely being saved by these 2 green flirts that have been happening, because the flirting has not been all that aggressive, but when you only need 2 of them to complete the mission, you don't need to be very aggressive about it, even on Gallery. However, down to 1 minute 25, and we still only have that 1 mission, and only the partial progress for these inspects, which will immediately notice a highlight, I have to imagine, or just otherwise high suspicion.
The timer is definitely becoming a problem as we head all the way back to this back conversation. Contact comes off.
This has to be a purloin after the contact, right? We take so long to reject.
It would have been, yeah. There's no other reason I could think of to delay reacting to Toby as much as we did, other than just I didn't realize he was there for a second, which does happen. Into statues we go, but this is not going to be a completion unless we swap it, and it's facing the sniper, so that would be a very bold move.
We do have someone blocking it. It's a white swap. It's being blocked by Disney for this entire time, and now
remain blocked for long though. There
only
it is.
3 seconds to react.
On camera. Scout doesn't react, and Hunu is able to get it done in a what does not look like it should have worked.
Yeah, Disney just being at that statue, blocking that for as long as he did. Of course, Scout could have angled around to look for this, but it's so hard to think about that when it's a front-facing swap like that. You don't think, oh, I really need to angle for this like you do with the back-facing ones. And I think, as it finally became visible, you see the highlight, so Scout's, recognizing that Hunu has 2 inspects, but this is at the moment where the ambassador starts walking into this conversation in the back, and Scout just doesn't notice in time.
Yeah, absolutely. That statue became visible at 3.7 seconds left on countdown. Now that often means, because of delay, especially when you have an Australian involved.
New Zealand, but close enough.
It's close enough as far as geographically is concerned. That often means you've got about 2.7 seconds. You take about a second off of the end there. So 2.7 seconds. And Hunu didn't really move. Hunu didn't try to dance this. You should have enough time to see what's going on and take that shot if the ambassador doesn't do exactly what the ambassador does at the end there.
Yeah, I mean, Scout has to be already aware of the swap possibility as it becomes visible. And if Scout was looking for the swap, Scout could have made it visible themselves by taking a different angle. So just a bit of a nice attention play / visibility play from Hunu there to find an unlikely spy win. And that means Scout's going to need to find another one of their own to keep level.
But as unlikely as a spy win is, it's still a spy win. And that puts Scout at a disadvantage once again as they step into the spy game of their own in 3, 2, 1, playing it. Another incomplete seduction at a painting at the start of the game.
It's never fun, but we're going to walk up next to our ST here, get this flirt finally, and at least 30% of it.
30% is certainly not the number you would like to see in a situation like that, but it's not too bad. It just means you have to hit a green test on one of your next one. Well, maybe even if you hit a green test with a distance like this, it's not going to work out. That said, we do hit the green, and we do get up to 67. So that is enough to complete with the close white.
Yep, those close whites are worth 34%, so we even have 1% worth of margin. So, a smidge further away will be okay, but I wouldn't risk it if I were you.
No, I wouldn't risk it either.
Now the question is, what do you do as spy on Gallery? Gallery is notoriously tough, sneakily tough, really. It is actually one of the highest sniper win rates in all of SML. Veranda beats it out, but I think it might even be higher than Library for sniper win rates, just because of how these how all these missions are spread out. The clumping of the party doesn't happen except at really 2 locations, which are these 2 conversations. Otherwise, there's not much party cover in a lot of areas. It can be hard to get bugs. We've explained, why inspects are not quite as strong here as they are on other venues. So, as a spy, you often can start feeling like, what do I even do here? There's just nothing that seems appetizing, but you have to find something.
Especially now that we've got the flirt done, but it doesn't actually wind up mattering because someone has been shot, and it wasn't Scout.
Yeah, looks like this is the perhaps downside. Oh, I think Ponytail here got credited with a bug. Look at this path of around 245, 244. Ponytail goes around the ambassador as he paths inward, and
Ooh, yeah, that's a nasty looking path, especially with that sort of window divider there. It just sort of hides where that arm would have been.
I do think that had a bug actually happened, it would have been visible to Hunu, mind you. And if it had been triggered late enough for it to be invisible, it would not have taken. But that's a very, very minute detail kind of thing that can be very hard to evaluate in the moment. And once she picks up this bug credit, she does go to 2 different sets of statues and just gets shot.
Sometimes the AI does that kind of thing. This is just a fact of SpyParty. Sometimes you get gifts as a spy.
I will say, however, that there was no contact done for Ponytail here. It was just the bug and the 2 inspects and presumed flirt. So this seems like it might have been a bit of an early shot, but it also might be the same thing that enabled Hunu to take that shot earlier on Ballroom. So, it's a bit of a trade-off, I suppose, of having that behavioral mindset of, wow, this looks a lot like the spy, so I'm going to take that shot. Sometimes AIs look a lot like the spy.
This is why so many of the best SpyParty players in the game will sort of wait for that little extra piece of confirmation before they take a shot like that if they think they still have a mission to play with. But either way, we're tied at 5, and it's Hunu on the spy side of High Rise next. In 3, 2, 1, playing it. Now, this is an any 3 of 6 layout. So no transfer, no fingerprint is the layout we're working with right now.
Yeah, and something to note about the NA 3 of 6 that we have, you have to have either swap or microfilm on. You can't have them both off. So we couldn't have taken the swap off microfilm on, fingerprint on setup. That's just not allowed. So we do have one of those hardtails in guaranteed. In this case, it will be the swap.
So slow starts on this venue, slow games in general on this venue are to be expected. You've just got a lot of time to work with as the spy in a party like this.
Yeah, especially compared to the amount of missions that you have to do. You could get those missions done very, very quickly right at the end of the game if you really needed to. So the time pressure is not as critical of a factor as it is on many bigger venues. However, it still can be quite important, especially if one of the things you're lacking in is flirt. But Hunu, as always, not lacking at all in the flirt. Oh, look at this. Ambassador is just begging to be bugged here. Hunu has to take this, especially as Duke.
I don't know if you can take that. It's just a little bit too exposed.
See, I don't think it's that exposed because Duke is one of those characters where your idle animation does not have your hands sitting at the front. Duke's hands are beside him and behind him, and so if you do it between idle animations, and you're just not going to be very visible, especially with how long the ambassador is sitting here. It's so hard.
Well, we're starting to gain a little bit of cover, especially with Toby there. There's the take. He took the bug, and I don't think he got caught for it. He was at that perfect position where he was close enough to bug, but not in personal space range, and he could just wait for a little bit of extra cover to wander in front, and that's exactly what he did, and it worked out beautifully. There's the contact coming off.
Yeah, and if we're talking about gifts, maybe Scout got one last game, but wow, what this is, this is beautiful for Hunu. You could not ask for a more perfect positioning for the ambassador, right in that golden range. And look at this, we are done with the flirt again. That 2 green, just
Gets the
making this
flirt done
impossible to
at
shoot.
statues as well. That was a gorgeously executed game of SpyParty from Hunu there. There's not much Scout can do in a situation like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Hunu, all you have to do is just take that bug at some point, and you're winning this game like 90-95% of the time, even against the best snipers in the game, because even the best snipers in the game are going to struggle to watch that bug for that long, right? And
Yeah.
there's just other things that you have to pay attention to, and this ambassador is just giving Hunu the bug. If I'm Scout here, I'm thinking, well, that is annoying, but I didn't really do anything wrong. Hunu just got a really, really nice ambassador in this game, so just gotta shake it off and continue on. It sucks for Scout, but it's a really big one for Hunu here, especially if Hunu can find a sniper victory.
Yeah, in a situation like that, you just sort of have to either assume that Duke has the bug and you missed it, or that Duke's just not the spy, and if he is, we're screwed.
Yeah, it's one of those bugs that is both difficult to see and eminently non-suspicious, because the ambassador was the one who set up there. Usually it's more suspicious if, the spy walks in and plants themselves in that golden bug range. But when the ambassador does it, so hard to ever come back from that. So Scout now, once again on the back foot, but absolutely can bring it back here on the spy side. You'll count us in, Toba?
Absolutely. Let's get this thing started in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And Scout has proved plenty of times that they are more than capable of drawing this match level. That's a Time of Chaos bug on high rise. That does not happen very often.
No, it doesn't, and it takes. So we have looks like a clean bug here for Scout, and you have to imagine that's going to be a win a lot of the time here.
Yeah, almost all the time that's just game done. It takes us into the statues. We do take a pair of inspects. I'd be surprised if we rely on those inspects. We could also just go for a silent game here. But Scout has found themselves in an absolutely commanding position. And yeah, it's just going to be a silent game.
Yeah, we're going in for the second set of statues, and if we two-flirt this, this game looks really, really almost impossible for Hunu to shoot. You'd have to have some inkling that this bug could have happened in the early game, and maybe Hunu does. That is the only way. Right? Hunu has to be aware, oh, well, there was all this bumping around, and then put it all together and say, I'm going to shoot for potentially a 2-flirt and just statue inspects.
I think that's in somewhere. 49% range. It was indeed, and he hits the 2-flirt. That is like a
what?
You're kidding me. There's no way he took that shot. How did you get that shot?
I want to point out that there was, when you account for lag, there was literally 0.1 seconds of mission win countdown left.
Oh, my goodness.
This is absurd. This is I gotta say, an absurd shot of an incredible shot by Hunu. But wow, that's crazy. And you assume a 2-flirt as well is the thing. Like, even if you have perfectly gotten this, this flirt pairing, you have to assume it's been a 2-flirt. You have to think this bug happened, this is the spy, and it's 2-flirt to take this shot. And Hunu does. Wow, that's insane. And
that is such a wild shot.
Yeah, I think the one thing Scout could have considered doing differently in this game is just taking a contact instead of finishing inspects, because contact is a much more broad mission. It's going to complete for a lot more people, and I am honestly more than anyone else understand the appeal of going a silent game, right? That's so tempting. But in this case, I think if you just do a contact and have most of the characters in, that shot's going to be, 1000% harder, and that means it doesn't get taken.
And he would have had like 2.5 minutes to just wait for that perfect contact. You could have just sat and waited for everybody to be in, and there's just nothing that Hunu would have been able to do about it.
Yeah. And that is a venue, I would like to point out, that could have gone 2-0 the other way so easily.
Very easily.
Because, Hunu, more or less was gifted a spy game. It happens to everyone sometimes, right? And takes just an incredible shot with literally 0.1 seconds left. Just a tiny, tiny bit, and we can see Scout in the lead here. But instead, Hunu on 7-5 now, I believe, if that is, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I believe that is correct. And 10 points is what you need to close it out. So Scout, again, has proved time and time again that they are more than capable of pulling this back level. But time is starting to get away from them. Yeah,
and the thing I wonder about is when you get shot there in a game that you feel like you have locked down right after it feels like the party gifted your opponent a spy win, that can be mentally tough, especially later on, especially when you're tired, when this would already be a done deal. This set would already be over in the regular season. We've got more games of SpyParty to play. Scout, we've seen that they are absolutely capable of dragging things back, but you have to be in the right mental state, and that might be a tilter.
Well, let's find out if Scout is able to keep their cool from the sniper side of Veranda in 3, 2, 1, playing it. And if you're feeling a bit of tilt, sniper side of Veranda is a great place to calm down and get your legs back under you.
Either that, or it's a place where you're just going to fall apart even harder, because Veranda is the highest sniper win rate in SML, but it's still a big venue with a lot of things to watch. If you are suddenly unfocused, problems can crop up real quickly here.
That is very true, but if you're going to fall apart on the sniper side of Veranda, you're probably not going to win the sniper side of any other venue either?
Maybe not. We'll have to see, Tobo. But, Scout hasn't lost a sniper game here yet. We're talking about hypotheticals here, about tilt and momentum. But what we have to see first is what's actually going to go down in this game, the actual performances of each player. All of this is speculation until then.
And what is going down right now is a fairly slow start out of Hunu, with 34% on the flirt. And a fairly late flirt as well, so this timer flirt's not going to come around for a little while yet. Mind you, this is a 5 of 8 venue, so we've got a lot of work to do. 3 minutes still to do it. And we really did just sit and wait for the cooldown, but we're not able to get that second flirt. We're able to get we're able to get contact, but we're not able to find that second flirt.
And we're back
only 2 lowlights though, so that's pretty dang good.
Yeah, we're kind of back to this moment here. This spy plan from Hunu, which is quite slow. We're gonna pick up presumably a print, right? The ambassador just left here. Yeah, print off this book.
So that is contact done, 1 flirt and 1 print with 2 minutes to play. I think we kind of wanted that briefcase. We just weren't able to quite get there in time. So Hunu has progress, has options, does not have a lot of time.
Yeah,
There's the second flirt coming off. A green test, nice and close, to bring us up to 85%.
One very minor thing to adjust, perhaps, is putting back the blue book after Buns takes a book, which means that she would be getting a difficult fingerprint. When you put that back, the sniper knows that she can't be getting a fingerprint there. So there's just a little bit less progress in the party, which is under your direct influence there. You can choose to do just like another book cycle, and it's going to cause a little bit of more, just a little more consternation for the sniper overall.
I really like that green time ad. That seems like it was an important pickup. We're very low on time without it. There's the flirt done, so that's 2 mission completions. We still have that fingerprint in the pocket, so that's progress as well. Minute and 40 to play.
Yeah, but, even with a minute and 30 now on the clock, after the time ad,
there's just so little time. We're just not moving.
And
here we go out to statues, but this is going to be our first statue visit. We've not been here yet, so we're not going to be able to finish this here. We are able to get the second print, though. So that's 3 missions done and a pair of inspects. Minute and 5 on the clock. This is looking a lot more doable, but we're going to have to find another hardtail somewhere, and that's not an easy thing to line up.
Yeah, look at this. It appears that we may be have gotten away with prints relatively clean here. Scout usually does highlight for the completion, as far as I'm aware. So a little bit under the radar Hunu is. On the other hand, oh, look at this. Ambassador is coming near us again.
That's a huge opportunity. Are they able to capitalize it? There's the bug. The bug takes. Does the shot come off? The shot does come off. Scout on top of things.
For Hunu's side, I think that despite the fact that you get shot for that, it's very much your best opportunity with this much time on the clock. There's no world. If you put me in Hunu's shoes, I take that bug every time, and when I get shot, I shrug my shoulders and say, well, I was pretty low on time. I need something.
Yeah, that ambassador positioning was very much a gift that the party gave them. And if you want to be good at spy, you have to be able to recognize when the party is giving you a gift and capitalize on it. It doesn't always work. You can't find something that will always work as the spies. That's just not how this game works. But I certainly do not begrudge him for trying to take advantage of that situation. Scout now. This is not going to be an easy place to draw a level, but it is possible on the spot side of Veranda. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Immediate time ad.
Huh. That's a fun little idea.
Time of Chaos is always an interesting time to do it. I wouldn't necessarily do it at the front window facing the sniper. However, it's a relatively small risk for an extra 45 seconds on the clock, which can be very, very impactful.
Especially when the time of chaos is going on and the sniper has a lot to look at already, and maybe you don't necessarily remember exactly what the starting time of the game was. As long as you're not doing that kind of thing often, it can be quite a powerful maneuver. Scout, though, has not been able to get a whole lot done very quickly off the top of this game. Selection target drops in right next to them as they're at windows, so they're able to shimmy over and pick up a quick 51% on the green flirt here, and it looks like they might try to hang out for a timer flirt.
Yeah? Never mind.
Indeed they are not. Off to briefcase we go to get a start on the fingerprint, which I really like.
I like putting this right back down. It's not how you're supposed to do it if you're replicating correct etiquette, but it gives the sniper a whole lot less time to recognize that you have a print.
Yeah. And the ambassador is so far away at that point that you sort of have to have your head on a swivel to make sure that etiquette is correct. And that's just not what you're really looking at as a sniper. Second flirt coming off. This one at windows brings us up to 85% there. So good progress so far.
I'm not necessarily in love with finding these window flirts. It feels like we've been being punished for those more than you might expect. Particularly on that high-rise game where we just barely got shot. We were credited with a 2 flirt, and our first flirt was at that painting pad right next to Queen. It's one of the most obvious, flirts that you can see as the sniper because, it's just a very limited amount of characters on the pad.
Another green time ad, and then getting the flirt done as we head into the red bookcase here. There was also a difficult print available, so we had a go at that, but weren't quite able to hit it.
Yeah, unfortunate for Scout. Had they hit it, this game would be very different. And did you mention the green time ad? Because I missed it.
Yeah, I did. It did indeed. That said, we've still got 3 minutes and 10 left on the spy clock. So even though we're struggling a bit as far as our progress is concerned, we still have plenty of time to make it up. Stepping in to statues on the blue side of the venue. We do get highlight for it. Likely because the ambassador is right here.
Print off of blue, perhaps?
Oh, a nice, I like that attempt at the double walking bug, but unfortunately left just a tad late and didn't wind up getting the arm we were hoping to. So those two things that went wrong when taken together made things wind up going really very wrong. The shot winds up coming off, and Hunu is able to maintain that lead. It's 8-6 at the current scoreline. Hunu needs one more game to force at least overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I like the concept behind this bug, but it feels a little bit ambitious after having been highlighted for statues. But not a bad idea. Just I think it's going to be really hard for this particular execution to work out, even if you hit the bug.
Yeah, especially because these larger ambassadors are pretty quick. All right, on to the next one. Modern is where we're headed next. It's going to be Hunu on the spy, looking to get themselves at the very least to overtime. Scout on the sniper, looking to basically to keep themselves in this match. In 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Hunu finding that ST and B lining. I'd love to see a cheese flirt here. Get out of there immediately, especially after not hitting the classic green flirt to start the game that we've been seeing so often from Hunu. But instead, we are just standing here.
Yep, white flirt for 34%. Although we'd probably be able to get a white flirt from this position if the selection target was literally anywhere in this conversation circle. We're basically right in the middle of it.
Additionally, had we cheesed away, our ST would have ended up moving somewhere else, and that causes a bit of extra activity in the party, pretty much no matter what. Even if it's just a movement to a different conversation circle, it's going to put a little bit more strain on the sniper. Additionally, had anyone joined our current conversation after we and Duke had left, they would have left after a short period of time, which just kind of compounds into a lot more party activity over the course of the past minute or so. Instead, we get the 51% flirt, but I really would have liked to see Hunu move out of that conversation quicker.
Yeah. Instead of that, it's a timer flirt to bring us up to 85%, and what looks like might be another timer flirt, which is just really very ambitious.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit slow, but we've seen Hunu play that, and we actually go for a fake contact here. Very full conversation.
I really like that play. That is a high-quality fake contact.
I agree, and if, Scout has not been doing any kind of highlighting or lowlighting for fake or real, but this is the kind of scenario where you can just memorize who's got fake, right? Because there's only two people who were in a conversation but didn't have contact, right? And it's us and our ST. So Scout could have absolutely memorized who didn't have contact there.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a lot of time used to get the flirt done and the fake contact. 2 minutes and 10 left to play, but Jury is very much out on whether or not the plan is even to finish missions at this point. It looks like we're trying to get somebody shot. I don't think we're trying to get anyone in particular shot.
I like this timing if we are going to delegate, by the way. In this kind of like lull in the middle of the game, it's very frequent that snipers actually drop watching Purloin for a little while, or watching Bar in particular, and we do indeed Purloin to a highlight. Might be an intentional frame, a take. What's the response from Scout? Did Scout see that Wheels was at Bar? No,
he didn't. He just shot the Purloin taker.
And I think
a bit of a collapse.
Yeah, I mean, Teal does have full inspects here, but it's still, a bit fast to be taking the shot, right? Especially as a character that went statue to statue in this early game on a delegate Purloin venue. You have to be expecting some level of maybe someone who's been two sets of statues is going to get framed, right? In this game, so. I think as Scout, you have to be willing to hold longer there, at least wait until contact. But unfortunately, I think Scout may have just missed us at Bar and thought no one could have delegated to Teal.
Yeah, I think that has to be what happened, because there's no other reason you take a shot for that. Either way, that puts Scout in very dire straits indeed. They've got 3 games in a row to try to claw back from Hunu. Hunu just needs 1 to close this out. It is match point in 3, 2, 1, playing it.
Yeah, and, you feel a bit bad for Scout because you think, just maybe this has come down to 0.1 seconds on high rise, right?
Right.
What changes if we do not? Oh no! And look at this Scout highlight for flirt. As I mentioned earlier, those window pad flirts. Hunu is definitely watching them, and this time we have confirmation of that fact.
Yeah, Scout has leaned into them just a little bit too hard, and this time it turns out to be a real problem.
Oh boy, this is. As you mentioned, a problem. Scout needs this game to stay alive, and we're already one of only 2 highlight suspects here in this game, and you just feel like...
I like that attempt. It doesn't hit, though. That could have been big.
Yeah, the problem is we go back to Ponytail here. I feel like we're just going to get shot soon enough.
At least we're not close to Ponytail in this conversation. That helps at least. Oh no, the double
painful
fails on our contact. Everything is going so wrong.
That's really painful for Scout. Scout doesn't even know that they're a highlight, but they already have to be feeling kind of bad about this game in general.
Yeah, absolutely. That is a tough pill to swallow. 2 minutes and 30 seconds to play. We're having another go at this briefcase. We have no mission completions. That's our first print. We've got 2 flirts up to 78%, but we are behind the clock and suspicious.
Yeah, this is a bad place to be if you're Scout, unfortunately.
Back in the conversation with the seduction target. I liked the positioning in the conversations for these last 2 flirts, but unfortunately, we got highlight for the first one.
Yeah, I have a feeling that we are by far top suspect in this game, and that means that this game is near over, Tobo. We'd have to pull a miracle out of our hat here. Or maybe out of our dress, as it were. We don't, we don't have a hat.
You have to pull a miracle out of our hair. We can probably fit one in there.
Can we borrow General's hat? We're kind of going over here as if we might. Could go for a... No, we're not quite in range for a bug, unfortunately. I don't believe.
At this point, I might try to twitch over for it. We're just in such a dire strait right now. minute and 5 left to play. We have 1 mission out of 4 complete. And a lot of heat to deal with. This is almost not doable. There's the contact coming off. That's a second mission completion. The shot comes off right away. There was absolutely nothing to play for in that one. And Hunu is able to take away the SML Emerald Championship.
Yeah, and like this was really quite the close match. Lots of different games could have just gone either way. Maybe not this last one. This last one felt pretty much a done deal from pretty early on. But both high-rise games, multiple different games. Some went towards Scout that could have gone to Hunu. Some went towards Hunu that really easily could have gone towards Scout. We're gonna again, of course, mention that 0.1 seconds. That we saw on High Rise.
It was the 0.1 second game. There was the game right before that too. Hunu got that huge gift from the ambassador. If those two went the other way, this is probably overtime.
Yeah, it might be overtime, or the same kind of thing with the with Ponytail on gallery that Hunu ended up shooting. Just so many small things that could swing this match, and I think the scoreline reflects it. Even though the last venue was a sweep for Hunu, Scout kept this close the entire time. Very, very impressive showing from the both of them. You can see why they're at the top of their division.
Also has to be said, Hunu had some really, truly incredible shots from the sniper side. Like this was a very high quality set of SpyParty from both of these players. This was incredible.
Yeah, and I think you have to say that that's what carried Hunu over the line, where in the past Scout has gotten the better of him. Just exceptional sniper play in this particular set.
Yeah, I completely agree. Don't go anywhere. We're not done yet. We've got one more match for you coming up. This time it's going to be, I believe, the Ruby finals between Grash and Wrestler. Don't go away.
I'm excited for that one, Tobo. But we have a 15-minute break first, so get lunch or get a drink at the very least. Come back with your popcorn, whatever you have, and we'll be right here, ready to cast some more.